Okay, it's week 5 of adventure-based parenting. Week 5 content for adventure-based parenting. And today we're talking about location, 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 and the motivation of that. We're sitting in front of our fireplace today, enjoying blue skies and frosty ground. But actually, we're enjoying the fire and looking out at those things. So speaking of location, that's a bit about ours. And Greta was going to kind of kick us off this morning.
So when we think about location, obviously it's where am I right now? But it's our environment. It's that sense of place in your community. We can go back and look at the culture of adventure and plug in a lot of pieces in there from week 1. And then as Derek was talking about, the motivation. So that culture of adventure motivates us. Our surroundings motivate us. I know for our family, we're always, throughout our history, we've always been looking for that location that inspires us to be out there and also stretches us. So putting ourselves in new environments, whether it was dog sledding in Minnesota or backpacking in the desert, or canoe race on the Missouri.
Well, yeah, I mean, so much of our work as guides, especially in our younger professional years, was about finding different places. And so connecting through the seasons. And so it was very much about the location. Where can we go to do this next thing that we really want to do? And as parents, that changes a bit because then it's more connected to vocation, to your actual job.
Yeah.
And yes, you can change that up all over the country, all over the world, but it becomes a bit more difficult as you want to, as one might want to establish some kind of consistency.
Right.
And that has been a challenge, is developing consistency and inspiration and a great location. And I say challenge, I mean, in that we wanted to be very focused on it, and we have worked hard to do that.
So wherever we are, I know that for me, the proximal location, which is our first topic, is more of a natural, it's a strength for me. So wherever we are, we can, when we're in that state of mind of adventure, we can instill that in our kids and in our family. So whether I'm going to the park with the kids and we're talking about gear or how to, can you get up this thing, or, little details like that, I get excited about, okay, how can I implement adventure in this environment that isn't very inspiring for me, but how can I implement that? Whether it's a trail in a town that we're in, and we're looking at the plants.
We have to remember that we see things through our eyes, yes, but to remember to try to see things through our kids' eyes. And so maybe the environment is a bit more common or mundane for us. We've been privileged to go to a lot of amazing places and to do a lot of great stuff. But that's our experience. And so we've got to be able to break those things down and build up. Just as we were as kids, we were, tabula rasa, blank slate kids, of course. And so, being able to see through your children's eyes, and if they don't get those learning, steps, those building blocks, then how do they do the epic? It becomes inaccessible to them.
Yeah. Let's feel the dirt here. Let's feel the plants. Let's smell them. Using our senses to be in our location, having them listen. What birds do you hear? One of the things I've always enjoyed about wherever we are is finding that trail or that place that I go to throughout the seasons. And for me, the excitement is seeing the growth in my kids in that same environment, as well as the changing seasons, and then seeing them grow that love for being outdoors and learning in that environment and being in relationship with their siblings in that environment as well. There's so much joy in that. And yes, there's difficulty sometimes, but we get to talk about, it's this palette that we get, or this, what's it called? Our painter's palette,
Yeah. Well, it's a toolbox that they can draw from.
Right.
Of experiences.
And for me, that's very, it's just easy for me to use. Some people like a classroom or different types of environment. I love being outdoors. When I feel stuck, I go, okay, let's go outside. And then I can implement the things that I really value and I want to teach the kids.
Well, and interestingly, and I say interestingly, but there's a ton of research that backs up the side of getting out into the real world. And I think we know this anecdotally, we know this experientially, and thankfully there's been a lot more research over the last 20 some years that has really hit pretty hard. In fact, docs across the Western world are prescribing nature, prescribing hikes, prescribing exercise. And how crazy that we live in a time when you've got to prescribe doing life, like going outside, get on a trail, see something green. And there's all kinds of great research now to back that up. If you needed somebody to produce a study that was peer reviewed to say that, yes, going outside is good and healthy and we ought to do that more, we have that now. That is available to you. If you didn't know it, it's great. You should do it. And so for those who are watching, this is nothing new, our channel and in the adventure-based parenting side of things. But it's great to have that bank. But sometimes it does feel like, well, is this just extra? Are we asking too much? Should we just do what everybody else is doing? And no, that's almost always the wrong answer. If everybody else is going that direction, just at least pause.
Evaluate.
Right. Right. Okay, we're aligned on that one.
All right. So we talked about the culture of adventure and how it can be seen in location. Motivation. Location is definitely a motivation. I know we were in Seattle for a while, and there were, we went on walks and we found the snails and we went to the zoo and we did things, and we even created a little group that went up to the mountains.
We bought a van, 12-passenger van, and we created the Seattle Adventure Society back when, social media could be used to connect actual people to doing actual things.
Yeah. Okay. And then, but in our heart, we're thinking, oh, I want to be on a trail. I want to show my kids that side of things. And then we moved up to Alaska, where right out our back door, there were the trails. I mean, you'd think that we had gone to the end of the rainbow and found the gold.
We went to Narnia, effectively. We landed in Narnia.
Right.
Backyard was the trail system.
So location was very important to us because, especially with little kids, I think it is more challenging. You have to load everything up. But what I tell parents is that even if you go through the whole process of gearing up and you get out for 20 minutes, it is worth it because you're creating a pattern, a consistent piece. And there's so much learning involved with even just preparing to go out that door. Speaking of gear, which we haven't spoke on.
We all got under the weather, I think, globally last week.
Right.
It's been coming across the globe. So we took our turn last week. So
yes.
We'll come back to gear.
So the other thing I like about location, when we're in different places, you get to see different strengths in everyone in your family. So location for Derek is usually the big event that we're going to do. I mean, definitely here and now, but that's not as, I don't think as inspiring.
Yeah, no, I struggle more in, I've never really enjoyed an overnight camping trip or 2 nights. I struggle
or the
in
20 minutes
in day
out with
hikes
the
or
kids.
20 minutes out with kids. So I get it. I mean, however, by not doing that, you're not building those blocks. You're not practicing. And it's always going to be bad if you don't practice it. So yeah, my preference is to just be gone for,
hours and hours, maybe
for
days
and weeks, days and weeks. And then I'll come back and I'll be happy to be back. So I just need, 40 some days and then I'm good. Anything less, but the problem is that's not very sustainable. It's not very workable as a family guy, and it's not very workable, with a career anymore. It used to be my job to do that, and sometimes it's tough to make that transition back to the other style of life. And with kids, this is their life, and so they've got school, they've got hopefully homeschool, they've got all kinds of activities and practices and music. So how do you teach these skills in a realistic and sustainable way? It's by practicing. And 20 minutes, as much as it pains me to say it, is super important. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's my own stuff that I have to work through, because this ain't about me, unfortunately.
Right. Oh, yeah. So strengths for me would be those going out, doing the little things. And for you, it's you find the big race or the big adventure. And that goes to our goal setting, which was really fun to do as a family. Hopefully you guys have all started that. So just as location is this kind of a micro and then the big vision piece, that the, getting to the top of the mountain. Same with the goal setting. You have your big goal that you want to accomplish, but then you make these smaller supporting pieces to reach that goal. So implementing that into your family talks, your
well, yeah, I can have all these big goals for big races and big, expeditions, but if we don't do those 20-minute hikes when kids are little and growing up, we can't get to those. They're not.
Well, you could make them happen.
Yeah, right? I would be managing all the details and all the logistics. Right. And then the child is not actually a participant. They're dead weight or a liability on the trip. They're not actually participating. They're being shepherded along the experience, which there's some place for that. If we haven't done the work, you got to start somewhere.
Sometimes I think it's better. Well, I mean, it's better than not doing it at all, I think.
Absolutely. Once again, an inclination towards action is far better than inaction, right? So at least do something. Yeah, at least do something. And if that's what you got, then you have a starting place. And even better, 20 minutes with just little ones being outside and being acclimated to dirt, bugs, mosquitoes, real life things, rain, cold, wet socks, all those things, and how to deal with that. And interestingly enough, here's a mind blower. If you raise kids in that environment, they understand it. Yeah. And they get it.
You're not fighting to make them wear synthetic clothes because they know what it's like to have the cotton socks on for,
Right. So this is something that we all, in the research, we also call this natural consequence. It's not something that we do to a child. It's something that ultimately they do to themselves. And it's not bad. That's how we learn. We learn from trying something. And if it works, we're going to repeat that thing. If it doesn't work, if we're not too daft, we'll stop doing that thing. And it's the great thing about the natural consequences. I can say it once and I don't have to harp on it. I don't have to nag. The fact is, if you leave your boots out overnight while we're, in our tent, they're going to be full of condensation in the morning. And I said it once. I don't have to say I told you so because their feet will tell them that they have been told so. Yeah. And then you get stuff to deal with, blisters, potentially all kinds of stuff downstream.
We have to be willing as parents to do that. And then it'll make the next trip better. And the learning actually happens. It's just so
It's not about
easy.
Setting kids up. It's about providing the learning experience. And ultimately, we all, forget something at any point of life. So
and you will too, right?
That's what we all do.
And then, so... Well, okay, so we talked about the smaller goals that kind of support, they do support the bigger aspirations. And it was really, when we did our goal setting, we asked around the table with our 5 kiddos what they saw as the ultimate goal, because why am I doing these smaller goals? Right. Well, it's so that you can enjoy the bigger goal that we want to do as a family. And so I want to hear some of your ideas. What are your families wanting to do? One of them for us was a family dog sled camping trip. We're in a new location, so it is more challenging to find these. It's just more challenging.
Well, it's one thing to take your dog on a trail. It's another thing to take 7 down a trail. And
in Alaska's just a different place than Oregon. And then the one that kind of surprised me, but not really, was a coastal trip. And so we're thinking, okay, what does that look like? They want to go swim in the ocean and go surfing and things like that.
Okay.
And then Papa maybe go hang gliding. Who
Yep.
knows? And then in the summer, do some river trips. Everybody wants to go downhill skiing. That's a new thing for our family. We've done some of that, but primarily cross country. And then Derek and I, and then a location we haven't shared with our kids that is something that we really loved was the desert. We spent time in Utah, and we have not shared that type of adventure with them. So those are just that's a little snippet of some ideas for our family. When we're looking at our smaller goals, if people are not motivated, we remind them we're preparing for this thing up here. And for Lucy right now, one of her big motivations is she's swimming and she's competitive. That's a huge motivation. So the small goal setting at home, whether it's riding her bike or lifting weights or those kind of things, if it supports her being more competitive, I'm seeing this. Yeah, she's in.
Whether it's nutrition, workouts.
It's fun to see those different pieces.
So that's a motivator for her. And so, of course, we talked about that, as Greta said, with each of the kids. Okay, what motivates you to keep doing this stuff? Why do you do this? And so super important that we all understand that for each other, so that we can help. When I'm flagging and just not feeling it, we talked about that sense of, you need a motivator, and it won't always be you. Chapter 2 or week 2. Knowing what motivates everybody else is obviously the key, because I would like to have a partner in these things, and so would everybody else. It's tough to be the only one sometimes charging the hill. So for everyone, it's different, and that's great, because if we all have differences there, then we all have different ways to key into that, and that's super important, because it's like having the same, the same song playing constantly. So maybe that gets a little old.
Yeah, you start tuning it out, like the kids listening to my voice. I have to change it up to hear it. You can hear me when I talk like this, or change it up. Let's see, what was the other thing I was going to mention? Anyway.
Greg's going to log back in.
I know.
So we talked so much about our proximal and aspirational goals or locations. And so we talked about building blocks, getting towards from the proximal, where we live, where we are right now, to the more aspirational. And we talked about big races, big expedition things, further afield opportunities on the aspirational side. The requirement that we build those blocks, at home in our local area, so that we can get to those bigger experiences.
I did, as I'm thinking, I get really excited about the location piece. So I wanted to mention, for those of you who your motivation or your reason for adventure isn't necessarily the big race or those things. Some of us
check yourself.
Right. Some of us, it's about, I know anyway, sometimes it's about finding a plant or of seeing an amazing view, or it's a great way to. That's
why I bring you on trips.
Yeah.
Seeing the amazing view.
Some of us get really excited about the little details, and that's a wonderful thing, I think, and because you'll have some kids who are more that way as well. And especially little ones, I think, tend to get excited about these little details. And then you are fostering that love for just being out. And then the other piece that I wanted to mention was, celebrating that difference in
it's
your
so
reasoning.
important. I mean, imagine if everybody on your trip had the same personality style, had the same strengths as you have. arguably so that's cool and everything, but there are all kinds of limitations to any personality. And so having a range of skill sets and a range of interests, as those are actually fostered towards the learning and growth of anything, but in this case, the adventure, the expedition, the outdoor time, that's a multiplier of opportunity. It's a multiplier of risk mitigation. It's a multiplier of not forgetting the granola or the packing logistics. So those are great. Foster those different strengths, and then like any team, if you are the one personality style on your team, I will just go ahead and say I don't want other people that are all like me on my trips, because that means I'm going to forget all kinds of food. I'll probably be fine with it.
I keep thinking about the tortilla. If you haven't seen their Yukon
rite of passage for Liam back when he was 13. So do check that out. Pack rafting Alaska trip.
Yeah.
We had a great trip. We might have forgotten a few, menu items.
Right.
Details.
Right.
Whatever. We're pack rafting, so we're fine.
And so the other piece is just it's important because you're a group that I'm willing to do the race, even though that might not be my big inspiration. And Derek is willing to go pick berries. If he's, maybe that's not real exciting to him, or maybe he does enjoy it, but
it's not real exciting, but the outcome is important. I do enjoy.
He does. He is always talking about the scones that are to follow.
I do like some current scones.
So just be supporting each other in what you are passionate about with adventure.
I'm gonna let the dog out. So.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Well, so I'm out of coffee.
Yes.
So that means I need to re-up. That probably means this is a good time to wrap this thing. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Please comment. We would love to see, because we're going to do each of these conversations as we do over 12 weeks of content. But we want to have a broader and more specific conversation to go into other areas of adventure-based parenting. So ask us the questions. What do you want to know about? What are some of the things that you're pondering? Some of the things that you're trying? Put it in the comments there. Do please subscribe and share this. We are growing this adventure that we are on, and it's just such a blast to be hearing what's going on with other families across social media. So it's awesome to see who's using those hashtags: adventure-based parenting, hashtag WeABP, and hashtag Backcountry Professor. So check those out if you haven't. It's not just us. It's great to see adventures all around the globe. And it would be awesome to see you as well. All right. Anything else? All right.
Look forward to next time.
We're out. We're out of here. Get outside.